folks. In today's live stream, we're going to be trying to fix up this Burlington Northern SD40-2 from Athearn. This is a locomotive I was sent as a gift about a year or two ago from a guy named Ricky. Anyway, this locomotive kind of runs, the motor will turn over like a couple rotations, but it definitely seems, I wouldn't say fully seized because it can rotate, but it's definitely not turning as fast as it should. So I don't know if we've got gummed up gearboxes or if there's an issue with the bearings on the motor or what the case is. But either way, this thing is not performing as well as it should. And moreover, there's a lot of damage cosmetically. All four of the attachments for the shell are completely broken off. I'm not really sure if we can fix that. But there's also just things like this, which have split off, and the handrails are really bent out of shape. So we can definitely improve it to some extent and definitely make it a better looking locomotive, despite how it's been treated. And yeah, it's got some really cool add-ons here. Somebody put some gold horns on it. That's kind of cool. Anyway, I'll take it over to the track. I'll just show you all what it's currently doing just for the sake of it, and then we'll try to crack it open and see if we can fix it. Got a whole bunch of people joining in. We've already got 60 viewers in here. Welcome, everyone. Again, I've already tested this thing, so I'm just going to do a brief run just to kind of show you all what it's doing. I'll actually pull the shell off because there's nothing holding it in place. And what you can see... You see how it's like it's cranking over and like it's pulling current, but it's really struggling. Like this thing should be just kind of flying, and put it in forward, like for a moment you get good rotation, but even if you're at wide open throttle, there's just nothing there. So yeah, we'll open both these gearboxes up and just check this thing out, because even just by hand I can already tell that something's not quite right there. Probably just needs fresh oil, but you never know if something else is amiss. Hello from Hawaii, welcome. I think somebody has done some modifications. It looks like they've done an electrical bypass. This does not look like a stock Athearn motor to me. Or if it is, I don't think I've ever seen one with these indents, so that's kind of different. The rest of it looks pretty stock, though. I think this is probably a model from about maybe the late 80s, because it has the plastic side frames. Anyway, we'll crack this part open right here and see what we're dealing with. Sometimes these bearings on the end are where the problems are. This one seems fine, so I'm not too worried about that. We'll separate the motor from both the gearboxes, and then we'll be able to tell what's the source of the problem. And those are turning fine as well, so far the gearbox is not showing any suspicious signs. Now, of course, since this has been electrically bypassed, we'll have to pull that through there and resolder that on. Why are 80s Bachmann steam locomotives a pain to work on? It's just because they're a bad design. Bachmann just had not really perfected the art of putting steam locomotives together at that point, and to some extent I'd argue they still haven't, but a modern Bachmann is light years ahead of an 80s Bachmann, that's for sure. Anyway, as for this motor, feels like it's turning okay. It could definitely use some fresh oil and cleaning, but I don't know if that's our culprit. So we'll have a look at both the trucks. Now, a test I usually like to do is to see, without applying any weight, if the gear will turn. And this one is, so that's okay. Ah, you see that? Like, we just do a side-by-side comparison. You see how one's just naturally turning and the other is locked in place. So something in this truck is our problem. Currently working on my Tyco Century 430 with the Santa Fe yellow bonnet livery. Nice. So we'll try to just get this first clip out of the way. We'll probably end up opening up the other truck to service it as well, but at least we know now that this is the culprit. There's either bad lubricant, dust and hair, or maybe a cracked gear or something that's holding us up here. If anybody can fix this SD40-2, it's SMT. Well, we'll find out. I'm a huge fan of these blue boxes, as a lot of you know, though. They're very well-made engines, but like anything, you know, if they're not taken care of, problems can occur. So, one thing that can happen is sometimes the bearings can actually stick to the wheels, and that one's not turning well, so that could already be a sign of a problem. That one's turning well, but the one on this side is not. Those ones are turning well. So these two wheels could be our problem. But before we go assuming that, let's see. And yeah, the gears are turning fine, so I'm inclined to think it's just those wheels that are holding this whole thing up. What's your go-to Tim Hortons order? A large coffee, no cream or sugar, and probably a farmer's wrap. Farmer's wraps are decent there. So the gearbox is fine. It's just those two bearings that are completely messing this up. Check the gauge on those wheels. That's a good point. Now, there was only one set that was off. I think this one was okay. We'll check it anyway, though. It's holding on pretty well, but that was slightly out of tolerance. Very well could be the problem. Yeah, this is slightly out of tolerance as well, so I guess we'll try pulling that out and we'll see if that frees it up. Yeah. I wonder if they naturally got like that or if somebody tried to adjust them. We might be dealing with no, I was gonna say I thought maybe this would be cracked, but it looks okay. Could just have a lot of hours on it, honestly. I'll add a little bit of adhesive. I want to be very careful because if you add too much, it could get in the bearings, and you really don't want that. But yeah, if we rebuild these, we can probably improve things a little bit and make sure that this doesn't happen again. They're hanging on well, though. I've seen a couple of these that have cracked gears. It's pretty rare for an Athearn, but not inconceivable. Hey, SMT, my AHM RS3 will go in one direction, but it will not go in the other direction. Do you know what could be wrong with it? In a case like that, it's got to either be a problem with the motor or it's got to be a problem with the gearing. So I would open it up and just see if there's something that looks a little bit off with one of the gears, because sometimes a gear will rotate in one direction, but for example, if there's like a little piece of flashing that's facing this way, the gear might turn past it like that, but then if it tries to go backwards, the flashing will catch kind of like that and it will prevent it from turning. So that's where I would look. I've seen that a few times. So now as for adding glue, I'm just going to put a tiny bit right on the end there. I'm not going to put it anywhere on the sides because we don't want to push that down to the bearing, otherwise we're going to have problems. And then we just do the same on this. And what's really important when you're doing this is to make sure you're actually holding the gear, not the wheel on the opposite side. because these need to have even space from the gear. So we'll see if I've got it right off the bat. And I haven't, so I'm gonna back that off, and I'll back the one on the other side off a little bit. I'm pretty darn close there. This side just needs to go a slight bit further. And that's perfect. And just double check that I haven't glued these into place. And they're turning fine, so we know that that's good. Hey, SMT, I got an Athearn Genesis SD75 for $40, but the front truck has issues. A few broken body clips and 2 damaged ditch light wires. Broken headlight. Do you think it's still good? For $40 for an Athearn Genesis, I would say so. The parts are readily available. In fact, sometimes you can actually swap blue box parts onto a Genesis engine if it's, you know, a bit of an older model there. So I really wouldn't worry about that. Seems like something worth investing some money into if you're willing to put in the time. I have a few Bachmann Overland engines, and it has tender issues. The drawbar severed the wires. I don't know what plugs are, as I need a replacement. Bachmann does sell replacements, so if you want, you can just buy a replacement from them and have that on yourself. What I've done myself, though, is actually buy slightly more flexible wires and just build a new wiring harness and then just solder every single wire that is on the tender to the locomotive. You have to make sure you get the color coordination perfect, otherwise it's not going to work, but at least there's no more connector in the way, so the likelihood of it reoccurring is a little bit less. But yeah, it's a bad design. Broadway Limited is doing a GS4. Well, that's good to know. Hopefully it will be a little bit better than the Bachmann models. I kind of want to buy like a new Freedom train, but I don't really want to buy another Bachmann one because I already own one and it has never really run that well. And granted, it was an Amazon warehouse deal, so, you know, maybe I shouldn't expect it to be, like, perfect, but, yeah. Well, I've bought some Bachmann steam engines brand new, and they still have derailing issues, so I just don't know if the design is great. You can use Athearn gear replacements for Proto 2000 locomotives. You'll need to remount the Athearn gear to make it work properly. Well, that's the dirty secret, which is that Proto engines are so similar to Athearns. They have cross-compatible parts. As a matter of fact, I've heard from a lot of people you can use Proto wheel sets on Athearn engines if you want to upgrade them to nickel-silver. The steel wheels are not the greatest conductors on the planet, but honestly, they do have the benefit of having really good traction. So make sure I don't get any glue in that bearing there. How long does it take you to fix a locomotive? Depends on the repair. Sometimes they only take an hour. Other times you're looking at a couple days of on and off work. Are you surprised not as many companies have done the Polar Express? I'm surprised not so many companies have not only done the Polar Express, but all sorts of other famous engines. Like, I feel like any manufacturer, if it was scale trains or Rapido, you name it, Kato, if they wanted to make like a 777, you know, model of Unstoppable, I think it would sell like hotcakes. Like it's based off of something that's already popular, so it's gonna do well. Like, I mean, I'll give Lionel credit for making some of the famous movie trains, but one thing that I don't understand is that like Lionel will go making things that are not model train related. Like they made a Comic-Con themed train. Like I just don't see where the market's gonna be for that. But if you made like, you know, a train for Unstoppable, or you made a train for the 1985 movie Runaway Train, or really any famous film with a train, I think you got a license to print money there. So yeah, I don't know why more of them haven't got into that. I know some people are probably going to say it's licensing, which, yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it. But then again, if Lionel's paying for licensing for some other films, you'd think something like Runaway Train or Unstoppable would be worth it. Okay, so that's turning well. Yeah, that one got a little bit glued, but it's probably not very strong, so let's break that loose, and we're all good. Good. So I think now we can start putting this all back together. Throw some fresh oil in here. If Lionel did H-SCO, I'd go. Yeah, silver streak set would be awesome. I got a C&O F unit and it sparks when I run it. Is there any way to fix that issue? If it's an older model like this with steel wheels, don't worry about it. That's normal. Steel wheels just arc a lot. If it seems like it's shorting though, like if it's a brass engine, I would be concerned. It probably means you have a short circuit somewhere. But yeah, the only obvious solution to that is, again, if you have steel wheels and you have a proto engine or an Athearn engine, just make sure that they're the latest wheels. They're nickel silver, because silver wheels will not do that. Let's straighten that out, get it back into place. Trying to lower these things in is always a little bit tricky. I always wondered at the factory if they had a special tool for actually loading these in. I dropped my Bachmann 280. That's too bad. Good. For me, if the wheels aren't known for arcing, arc equals bad. Well, the arcing's not good for your track and it's not realistic, but the steel wheels pull really well. Okay, that looks good. How long does it take you to clean your tracks? Probably about a half hour if I want to do the entire layout. It still needs to break in a little bit, but you can see it's actually turning properly now, so that's really all I want from it. And before we'll throw those clips back on. Hey, some T, I have an N-scale engine that won't go. I cleaned the truck and wheels, but it still won't run. Well, if you hear the motor humming, you know that it's seized because the motor's getting power. If you don't hear anything, your motor is probably just not getting any power. I guess we'll go ahead and open this truck up, although, as I showed earlier, this one's actually turning fine. We're just going to add some fresh oil and probably just check all the wheels. Although, for some reason, the same problems did not occur on this side. No idea why. Imagine trying to clean inside the tunnels. Imagine your sanity. If you're talking about like people who are like, working in like the old railroad tunnels in the steam days, or people mining for coal and stuff like that, yeah, I don't envy that kind of work. My granddad actually used to work in a mine, and yeah, the conditions were terrible. Some of the mines out in Sudbury are so deep that it's actually really hot underground because you're getting so close to the core of the earth. Miserable, miserable conditions. Gotta respect the people who are willing to do that, benefit everyone else. Love the movie Runaway Train. It was a terrific film. I know it didn't do very well in the box office, but I've never seen another movie like it. I mean, it's a bit of a depressing movie, but every time I watch it, I notice something new about it. Whatever company owns Tyco should make a higher quality version of the famous Tyco products like the Silver Streak and Chattanooga Choo Choo. Those would sell like crazy. Maybe Tyco could be brought back, but I think they'd have to modernize the drive. I just don't think the original Power Torque would do well today. I think it would need to be, at minimum, on par with like a Mahano. It would be pretty funny if some modern manufacturer bought all the rights to Tyco's names, though, and made their own renditions. They might do well, you know? There's a lot of even rivet counters who grew up with that stuff, and if there was like a high-end version of what they grew up with, they might buy it, you know? You never know. It would probably be overpriced, unfortunately. Yeah, in today's market, I'd imagine that. Scuba Man, thank you so much for joining the Well Folks Club. Harrison, I cannot resist the impulse of pressing a vid notification. Also, have you ever heard of any train accidents that got national attention in Canada, like the Canadian Pacific KCC? I'm just curious. The Lac-Mégantic accident got a lot of attention, especially because I'm in the province of Quebec where it happened. I was personally really far away from the location, but for the province, it was a big deal. I'm trying to think of some others. I feel like there have been a few. That Lac-Mégantic is what stands out, but yeah, that there was also the I think it was called the Hindenburg train crash, and my granddad was actually involved with that because he was working in Transport Canada at the time, and when that happened, he actually had to go out there to help investigate. But that happened before I was around, so I don't personally know too much about that. My C&O F unit also has a broken coupler, but the screw is stripped or something. It won't come out. Is there any way to remove it? If you can add any pressure around the plastic, like just a little bit of pressure, like, you know, applying weight to it, sometimes you can get it to back out. Other than that, if you can grab some needle nose pliers, and if the screw has a head, sometimes you can just pull it out while you're twisting, but I don't know. Strip screws are tricky. I got a Bachmann Spectrum Conrail C430 for $30. The engine is Conrail number 6038. The engine went to CSX. It's also a standard cab, so it's probably been scrapped in real life. But for $30, I'm glad. Yeah, I would say that's a good deal. You're working on a Burlington Northern unit. Yeah, something a little bit new. I have a few Burlington Northern engines, but definitely not the most common road name on my model railroad. Nothing against it. It's just a little less common in general, I find. I got a Walther's engine for $100. It keeps shorting on the track. What should I do? I would check to make sure the wiring inside it is okay, because as far as I know, most Walther's engines are plastic, so you don't really have to worry about the frame shorting out. But if somebody ever opened it up and they crossed two wires, you could have both sides working against each other. If you ever get an undecorated F9 or F7, I pray you turn it into Frisco 814 down in Oklahoma. What happened to your left hand? I was I was out boating, and my boat, I don't know, there's a jagged piece of metal behind the battery box. I didn't know that was there, and I pulled up and it just scraped me. It didn't even hurt, but I think you're about the 5th person that's asked me about that. Not on YouTube, but everybody there was like, what's going on? And I was like, it's not a big deal. Anyway, that seems to be turning fairly well there, so I think that we can probably throw the trucks back in. I would like to service the motor as well, because I imagine that would probably appreciate some oil and cleaning, but at least I think we've got to the root of the problem here. What are you working on? A Burlington Northern SD40-2 from Athearn. How's Nerf Cat? He's doing okay. He got a little bit better in the last live stream. I mentioned that he had pancreatitis, which he's dealt with quite a few times before. This time is a really bad case of it, and he keeps getting better, and then it just keeps getting worse again. So I really don't know what to expect, but I'm kind of braced for the worst, to be honest, just because he is a really old cat, and I hope he can live for as long as he can. But you know, there are the realities of life, unfortunately. So we'll see. But we're all trying our best here to make sure that he gets the care that he needs. Just looking for my fiberglass pencil. Here it is. How old is Nerf Cat? We think he's 17. But that assumes he was born in about 2008, and we didn't get him as a kitten, so he could be even older. We don't really know, but he's an older fellow, that's for sure. Those Burlington Northern SD40-2s, the real ones, are workhorses, Harrison. There's still one in the Burlington Northern colors that sometimes shows up local here. That's cool. So that's already looking better. I'm just going to grab a toothpick. We'll shave it down. We'll clean the gaps on the commutator. It's like the most common thing I see being missed whenever somebody services a motor is cleaning out the mica slots. It's so important. And even these Athearn ones, which, you know, don't usually fail because of it, are pretty dirty here. Hello, I'm new here. I've been watching your videos, but I decided to hop on the fix. Welcome. There's a lot of carbon on this one. I'm gonna have to reshave the toothpick. Wow. This one was worse than I thought. It's really packed in there. There we go, starting to get through here. Are the brushes made up of carbon or lead or some other type of material? I want to say carbon, but they might also be graphite. Sometimes they're made of copper. And I would never advise putting a blade through a commutator, because if you scratch the surface, you could damage it. But in this case, there's such a bad carbon buildup. I'm just going to try to do it on the end here where it's not actually touched by the brushes here, just to see if I can loosen that up. This is not a common problem. Usually the carbon just falls right out, but in this case, it's really baked in there. got enough of it out that it will probably be fine, but yeah, this is a bad case of this happening. Graphite is copper. I'm not an expert on metals. I mean, that's possible, but I don't know. I always thought copper was, you know, sort of this color, and graphite was more like a pencil. Unless it's mixed with something. I don't know. Is it like an alloy? Somebody in the comments will know this. Add some grease there. Copper is a metal and graphite is a mineral. Okay. Most brushes should be carbon as they don't wear down easy. Graphite and copper are not the same thing. Okay. So I know on like a Rivarossi, they actually use both, where one side is graphite and the other is copper, and the idea is that the graphite side lubricates the commutator, and then the copper side actually scrapes off the graphite. I think Rivarossi might have been the only manufacturer to do that, but I think it was somewhat effective. I mean, a lot of Rivarossi motors are like 50, 70 years old and still running, so they had to have done something right. I live in the same city as you. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, this is turning way better. That's great to see. So now, all we need to do is solder this back on, and we should be in business. Okay, I think that should be all right for a quick test run here. Let's see what we got. Do you know them? Know who? The Gallery to Hull. Yeah, I've been to Gallery to Hull. It's been Place d'Orleans and the Rideau Center and Saint Laurent and the other local one on my side. Didn't power up. Did I miswire it? That's not good. So that's pretty bad. I definitely wired something wrong, because this was running fine before I worked on it. I mean, running fine as in, you know, it was seized, but it was getting power, and now it's not, so... Oh. Okay. I think it's just because I messed with the commutator a little bit. Maybe the brushes are not mounted properly. Yeah, okay. I think I know what's going on here. The wheels are in backwards. I don't think that's the case. Shouldn't affect the operation of this engine. I'm thinking that either this is not making good contact, or I accidentally messed with one of the brushes and it became unseated. I mean, this feels pretty loose, so that might already be our problem here, but just like to check and make sure this is actually a good spring. Well, lo and behold, yeah, so either when I was testing this or when somebody else was trying to run it, the heat from running so many amps through the motor actually melted the spring, and so this should be about double the size. Now, a really shade tree fix for this is just to take the part of the spring that's melted, stretch it back out. And 9 times out of 10, this will get your engine running again. Whether or not, you know, this is the best way to fix an engine is debatable, but when you're dealing with older budget engines, I do find that this usually works pretty well. I just want to double check and make sure that I've actually got this on the right side, though, because this plate right here is supposed to be on one side in particular. Yeah, that's the right side. So we can load that up. I think we're going to see better results now. Now, of course, the one on the bottom might also be looking the exact same way. If that's the case, then we're going to have to pull the motor out and open up the opposite side. But I would suspect, since when I was just giving that like a light tap, it's going to be better. And, well, there you go. Oh, okay, that's new. So did the wheels come back out of gauge, or did I just not put this on the track right? I don't know, let's give it another try here. Okay, that's good. Send it around for another run. Let's try canning it down the straightaway. Seems like acceptable performance to me, so I think now we'll start to work on some of the cosmetics now. So I said earlier, there's some damage that's been done to this engine, which I don't think is reversible, but we can definitely improve it a little bit here. Can we see the low speed? We'll try it out just for kicks. This would probably be best done after a little bit more break-in period, but I feel like given the strength of an Athearn, it's probably still not that bad. How's that for low speed? Let me adjust the camera here. Yeah, I think that that is perfectly fine. We'll turn up the voltage to 4 volts. I mean, like, that's with hardly any break-in period, and I also haven't cleaned the wheels on this, so, yeah, very impressive for an engine of its aging condition. Moves like a champ. Yeah, absolutely. It's got the high speed, the low speed. Does what you want. Now we just need to do some repairs. Now on this side, the handrail is just kind of bent, so we're just gonna pry that back out. And that looks good. On the front, that's gonna take a bit of gluing, but a bit of damage that's been done there. This side right here is really cattywampus. This has actually gone right under the cab, which is not so good. Not sure why this one is being so difficult here. Let's bend that outside it and see if we can get it to go back in place that way. I wonder what the previous owner did to this thing. I'm not sure. Some of these are still glued in place quite nicely, so that's good to see. Have you ever found model trains at stores like Value Village or Goodwill? I can't say I have. Mostly Value Villages in my area just seem to have like clothing and things like that, but I feel like one day I might run into something. Every year in Ottawa, they also have something called the Great Glebe Garage Sale, which is basically part of Ottawa, which is called Glebe. Almost all the residents there, you know, just put all kinds of stuff out, and it's like a big community event. And I went one year because my friend Oliver, he used to go to the Great Glebe Garage Sale, and that's actually how he got started in model railroading. You know, he'd find old train sets and stuff like that. So I was really hoping that I was going to stumble across something at a good price, but most of the stuff at that garage sale was pretty bad. It was just old light fixtures and stuff like that. This is interesting. Somebody replaced the handrails on the front here, but you can see these are supposed to slice into those little holes right there, and this style of handrail is actually supposed to kind of sit on top, so I could try to cut the bottom off and see if we can glue it in that way, but you know, you can see this is quite a hack job right here on the front, and my guess would be, oh no, the back one is stock. There's just so much material missing that it has nothing to hold on to, so I guess we'll just try gluing that back into place, and then we'll figure out what to do with the front later. Let's put a little more on the bottom here. I'm just putting it on the bottom side so that hopefully it won't go up over the top and shimmer where it can actually be seen. It's probably about as seamless as we're gonna get. What's the worst Mega HO Locomotives lot? Probably the one I just unboxed the other day. I can't believe that none of those ran. Like, in my experience, the Lima locomotives from the 80s and 90s and the old Hornby trying stuff is pretty tough, so I was really surprised that none of those ran. You can see this looks pretty messy, but this is okay. It's on the bottom. What I was aiming for was to keep the top pretty clean, which it actually did decently, so this can cure, and this excess will hopefully form a really good bond. It's already curing there, so that's good to see. Howdy, SMT. I've been working on an N-scale 1941 Varney Pacific that went flying off my layout. The locomotive runs but does not pick up power. Sorry, the comment just moved away, but does not pick up power when it is wired up to the tender. Any suggestions for the wire? If the engine's running when it's not connected to the tender, what I would check is to make sure that the wheels on the tender are both wired correctly, and that the rotation on the trucks is okay, because sometimes in tenders you have one isolated wire and one non-isolated wire going to the engine, or other times you have two trucks which are picking up the same power, and then the locomotive picks up another type of power. So just make sure the trucks are rotated properly and that nothing changed with the wiring, because if the engine's running just fine when it's just connected to a wire but not the tender, you know the problem is somewhere in the tender, and 9 out of 10 times it's with the wheels. Hey SMT, I fixed my AHM RS3. The magnets for the motor were making contact with the motor weights and the windings. It can finally go backwards. Thanks for the help. Well, that's great to hear. I did see that happen with one RS3. I should have mentioned that. If you go back and watch the video of me fixing up an old Santa Fe RS3 from AHM, I think it was a similar issue. That or it was rusted. I can't remember which. I wonder if this is cured enough to start getting these handrails back into place. We're missing some material there, so that's not really going to get any better. I'm thinking for this front part, we just clip off what's left of the metal there, or the plastic, I should say, just because it's not going to look perfect no matter what's done. Unless I wanted to go investing a lot in replacement parts, which I really don't for an engine like this. Chop off a little more material here. This type of handrail is not even meant for this engine, so I'm not really expecting great results. This glue is kind of messy, and there's like a blob on the end there. I really don't know what to expect here. Hold on a minute. See if just removing a little bit more material is enough to get this all into place here. I think I just kind of want to leave it there. I think that's about as good as we're gonna get. Too good. Just turn back a little. I was able to fix a Bachmann Spectrum C41-8W Union Pacific 9404. The problem was with the contacts between the wheels and the frame. Yeah, that can be a point of failure. It's frustrating because the steel wire will only tolerate so much bending before it would snap. Yeah, that is the thing. What would happen if 4014 got renumbered to 4019? Well, I don't have a clue why they would want to do that, but I feel like there would be a lot of really upset rail fans. Do you have any Camelback steam locomotives? I've got a couple of them, yeah. Are you interested in any South American model trains? There's this one manufacturer called Fratelli. I think you should check out. I'm a fan of Fratelli. I don't own a crazy amount of their stuff, but I actually have a AC44i right here. This guy right here. And I also have, I think it's called a G12. I'll see if I can find it here. Somewhere on this shelf. I'm just trying to remember. Here it is. I think this is another Brazilian state railway. What's interesting is that Canada actually had a couple of the G12s on the... well, Canada, I think, inherited them from possibly an American railroad. I don't know what the order was, but on the London and Port Stanley Railroad, there were a couple of these diesels, but I guess they were also using them in Brazil as well. So yeah, I actually have some more Fratelli models, which I've been meaning to unbox, but yeah, time is of the essence. I am trying to see if I can actually get a couple of Fratelli kits, though, because the baseline Fratelli models are not very well detailed, but I guess there are some kind of homebrew companies in Brazil that are actually making parts for them, so you can kind of doll them up a little bit, and I'd love to get one and kind of see what you can accomplish. The G-tail by Fratelli is not to scale, it's 00 scale. I think you're right about that. I'm pretty sure what happened is in Brazil, the railways are narrow gauge. So they use HO scale track, but they scale the locomotives up to make it look like it's still narrow gauge. I think that was what somebody said once. The G-tail was made in London. Oh, it was London, Ontario. Okay, so it was not imported. Look to see if I can get a coupler on this engine. I'm not gonna fight with it for a long time if I can't get one on there. So with the other engine, I ended up spending a lot of time trying to get that to work, but let's see if we can quickly throw one on here. It's kind of coupler in case anybody's wondering. These are really expensive, but high quality product. Thank you so much for the super chat. The Adiabatok, I can't pronounce that, rail fan. Part of I think part of the Grand Toronto area. Seems fine. Let's get that on there and see if it will run. What is the green piece for? I don't know. Coupler looks to be above the rail head, so that's good. Was the LMPS narrow gauge? The LMPS was a standard gauge, but I believe Brazil's railways are all narrow gauge. Yeah, the LMPS is sort of an interesting railway because it was mostly interurbans. And I think there might have been some coal operation, but it was all an electrified railway. And then towards the end, I think they got 2 diesels, which were the G12s. And then shortly thereafter, it went defunct. And I think that the G12s might have been... I think they might have become Canadian National locomotives. Thank you so much for the other super chat. It's a hard thing to say. Yeah. I just need to hear somebody say it in person, and then I'll remember it. Coupler height, I think, is good enough to work. Tobacco. Any interested in getting more Brazil? Yeah, I've ordered a couple more Brazilian locomotives. Most of them are GE made, so they're actually pretty similar to what we have in North America, but there are some slight variances. I think the biggest difference is just the paint schemes. Find in North America, you kind of look at like most of the paint schemes, a lot of very dark colors and stuff, and you see the Brazilian schemes, they're all very light in color. It's kind of cool seeing them dressed up like that. Yeah, I have one. I think it's from a railroad called MRS. Don't quote me on that. I've got a Pink October one, which I haven't unboxed. And then there's another one. I think it's called VII or VLL. I can't remember which. But yeah, I've ordered more for Teshi stock. It's in this house. I just need to film the unboxings. Pity it doesn't have a sound card. I would love to hear the horn. Yeah, at least it's an Athearn, though. It will growl. It looks pretty rockin' hauling this freight train around, though. Like, that's not bad. See if I can get the camera in slightly better focus. Do you own the New York Central Mohawk? I don't think I have that. I have the Dreyfus Hudson and the Niagara. Etobicoke is just Toronto. I know it's around there. I don't think I've ever actually been there. I've been to Toronto a couple times, but I'm terrible at pronouncing words. It's because of the dyslexia. If I can hear somebody say it phonetically, I don't have a problem with it, but it's trying to pronounce words just by the letters. I have a bit of a tricky time with that once in a while. It's just West End, Toronto. We've got like a result for the translation here. We're gonna listen to it. I don't know if the translate is even gonna pronounce it right, but let's hear it.
Etobicoke.
Etobicoke. I don't understand how you have the patience to wait to unbox things when you film them. I wouldn't be able to do that. In the early days of the channel, I used to just dig right into boxes, but now it's a little bit more of a process of actually, you know, setting up all the lighting and making sure the microphone is working and stuff like that. So, plus, I don't know, I'm trying to kind of run with a pace where I'm actually keeping on top of fixing up locomotives as fast as I'm unboxing them, because there was a period a couple of years ago where I was unboxing locomotives way faster than I was working on them. And there are still some that sit around, but now I'm trying to kind of work at the same pace, because there are some locomotives which get repaired without there being any video done. So that's why sometimes you'll see an unboxing with a bunch of engines and only so many of them actually make it into videos, because a few of them, you know, they just need oil and stuff like that. But then you got the ones like this which need oil, but they also need to actually be gone through and figure out why they're not running. So it all depends. Correct, SMT, that's how you say it. Well, there we go. Just need to weld that into my brain and should be good to go. Apparently they had 2816 steamed up last weekend. If I had only known, I missed it, unfortunately. I forget where I heard this, but apparently for Canadian Pacific's trip from Canada to Mexico City, there was like a documentary crew which went with them, and they filmed the entire operation. And they're going to release this documentary soon, and I'm really curious to see how that documentary is going to look, because, you know, there's a lot of positive moments, but as pretty much everybody watching this, I'm sure, knows, it had a very kind of dark twist towards the end. So I'm wondering how they're going to handle that. Why isn't my Bachmann working? It's a Santa Fe N-scale. It has lights, but it won't run. Okay, if you got lights, you know the engine's picking up power. There's probably not a short circuit if the light is nice and bright. So at that point, what you got to look for is the wires running to the motor, or with a Bachmann, it's probably just contacts against the motor. Make sure that those are good, and then check in on your brushes, because if they're not making contact with your commutator, that will also have the same result. But yeah, having lights but you're with no motor is not the worst sign. All the P40 DCs are gone. I don't know very much about the P40 DCs. I know about the P42s and the P32s, but I don't know what was operating P40s. Someone graffitied one of the FP9s. I didn't notice that part. Always ASMR when watching the repair videos. Oh, that's good to hear. It's supposed to be relaxing. I recently picked up an Athearn. I think it's a GP40 Toronto and Grey Bruce. Huh. I just noticed that the wheels on the locomotive are locked up. Well, that's not great. Could mean that maybe the armature actually does have a problem. But on most engines, well, I don't think any Bachmanns should be freewheeling. So, I mean, the wheels should not turn if you're trying to turn them by hand. That's normal. It's funny how it keeps losing power in this one section of track. I can't tell if it's the locomotive or if there's an electrical issue with this section. I want to run double stack container cars, but I'm afraid they'll fall off the trailer. Well, I don't know if it's the case for sets from every manufacturer, but I believe these ones clip together. See if I can show this. Okay, well that's a bad example because that one might be broken, but I thought these just had like a clip system. Or maybe they're both glued together. I don't really know, but either way, I haven't had a problem with the tops of these things falling off trains, so I really would not worry about that. I have an AHM GG1. One of the wheels broke. Very sad situation. Yeah, that's a tough one. Most of the AHM ones, I think they were all made by Rivarossi, and they're generally tough engines, but I have seen that happen not on a GG1, but on a Rivarossi steam engine where the plastic on the wheel just kind of shattered. And yeah, not much you can do about that. I suppose if someone was brave, you could, try to glue it back together, but I really don't know how long that would hold up. Do you have Canadian National Zebra Stripe? Yeah, I've got a few Zebra Stripe engines. I haven't run this one in a while. Work on the Union Pacific -9. I don't know exactly what that one's gonna need. I feel like that might work for a moment. Yeah, it went about as far as I thought it would. Let's see if this thing can recover the British cars. Be cool if somebody could print some kind of a device to connect the British style of coupling to the North American horn hook or knuckle couplers. There's got to be something that could be mounted on these to do that. Sometimes what you can do, I have to wait for this to pass by, but the bottom of the coupler kind of has a hook. And if it will let me get close enough, sometimes you can kind of do that. Whoops. I'm not sure if that was a coincidence or because my coupling setup. Let's try her again. Nice. On the 27th, I'm posting a video that's a tribute to trains and railways since the 200th anniversary of the Stockton and Darlington. I included footage of the long F7. It's Don. Thank you so much for the very generous super chat. Holy crap. 50 bucks. That's really kind. It says right here, another 50 for the greatest model railroader on the planet. Thank you for everything you've done. Well, I really appreciate that. That's insanely generous. Move over here. New vantage point. Put the trolley on the inner chat. Yeah, sure. Harold saying Don's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I love the Canadian National. It's a great engine. I didn't pay very much for that about 8 years ago or something. It was really early days of the channel, and it did require some repairs when I first got it, but it's been pretty solid for the money. Is it okay if I use the footage and credit you? I'm not making any money. Just as long as you provide credit, and it's like a short clip, yeah, I have no problem with that. What's your favorite locomotive? The Hiawatha. It's supposed to be, oh, okay. Somebody made a video, I want to say about a year ago, and it was called Model Train YouTubers Be Like, and I noticed that my name was included, and it was a parody of all the famous model train guys out there. And anyway, my channel was included in this, and he does my video and he's like, well, folks, and he dumps out a bunch of parts. He does like a time lapse, then he's like, today we're going to be building a train out of essentially nothing. Anyway, it was a pretty funny imitation. I love the timber framing on the layout. Timber framing. I'm not sure which part is the timber framing, but yeah, I do like timber frame houses. It is impressive construction. You probably already know this, but did you know Rapido made a 4-car set in the Amroad paint scheme? I actually was not aware of that. I knew they made a Canadian Pacific locomotive, but I wasn't aware they made an Amroad variant. The truss, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, to be honest, I did not build this myself. I found it, but I bought it because of how impressive the construction is. I did have to make some repairs after I bought it. Unfortunately, it had been damaged. A lot of stuff had to be glued back in place, but it's a wonderful bridge. How long have you had this layout? Since 2007. It didn't look like this in 2007, though. When I started, I just had this whole section right here, the 4x8. You can kind of see where it ends. And then in 2012... we had an old dining table, which my parents didn't want anymore, so they gifted that to me as an expansion on the train layout. And then for the third side, I ended up just kind of cobbling together a bunch of scrap wood and styrofoam and stuff, and I built this whole section right here. And that was another 5 years after that, so that was 2018 or so. And then the Hershey factory was in 2020. So roughly every 5 years, there's been a major expansion. I don't know how far back you'd have to go, but if you look into the community post tab, I actually have some pictures of the layout back in 2008, I think. Let's see if I can find my own post just so that I can actually show everybody live, like, the difference between the layout then and today. I found it. So here's the layout in 2008, and this is all laid out the same way. So if you were standing roughly in the middle here, you can, kind of line up the mountain and everything. And there's a comparison of kind of how much it's changed. And you can see the original track, a lot of it is still here. Everything's just a lot more grown in than it once was. Here's another vantage point. So the layout used to be over there, so that's why if you're looking at this and you see the staircase, it's a different angle. It's because this has been spun around, so in order to look at this at the same angle, you'd have to be around here. And you can see similarities, like the track is still running down here. You've still got the same spur track. The track that was here has been removed, but the one going through the mountain is still the same. Trolley derail, it seems to have, yeah. Evolution. What's your favorite food? Probably a really good pizza. The factory bridge leads towards the end. Yeah, well, when the layout was brand new, some of the buildings like the factory, the smaller factory, and the brewery, they were all on this layout. And so the layout kind of had two identities. It was partially country, partially kind of industrial. And then when the expansion came and I added the freight yard, it became very clear that that was going to be the industrial side of the layout and this was going to be the country side of the layout. So the farm expanded and everything here, and then over on this side, I ended up adding more industrial buildings and really turning this into like a hub. Hawaiian pizza. Hawaiian pizza is great. I will defend it all day. Trolley made a stop at the abandoned house. Yeah. Stopped to see Christine. Did it again. Yeah, I don't know. There might be some track issues I have to fix. Well, you fix the Lionel Santa Fe engine. I don't know which one that is. Do you know what kind of tractor it is next to the pumpkin patch? I think it's a John Deere. Yeah, I'm not sure how well the camera's picking up on that, but it's a Deere. I'd be surprised if it was anything else based on the color scheme. You just made a hot take to everyone. Yeah, I've got three pretty big hot takes. The first one is that I think Hawaiian pizza is good. The second one is that I think Nickelback is good. And this might be the worst one. This is the one that's going to get me all the hate. I like a steak medium well. I know. Evil. Whoop. So bad I made a train derail. That's a 40-20 John Deere tractor. I wouldn't know. I used to work with a John Deere tractor. It was not that big. It was pretty much a glorified lawn tractor, but yeah, years ago I was working on a horse farm, and we had this tractor which we'd actually drive through the barn and I'd take that thing out. It was a fine piece of equipment. It didn't run great because nobody was maintaining it, and as anyone who's in the north knows, diesel fuel doesn't do so good when it starts to get cold outside, but provided we kept it warm, it was pretty reliable. They still have it. I think they bought a Kaboga or whatever the Japanese orange brand is to as a backup, but yeah, good machine. Kubota? I think it's a Kubota, yeah. Nickelback is no good. Diesel turns to jelly when it gets cold enough. Yeah, and the tractor didn't have good glow plugs because I think people were not cycling the glow plugs properly, and then the fuel, I think, was causing them to foul. Hawaiian pizza is Canadian. Nickelback is #1. Steak rare, medium rare. That's what I was saying. That's the hardest point to defend. Nickelback is from my home province, Alberta. We'll defend them all day. I respect that. I don't really get the hate on Nickelback, honestly. Like, is their music the greatest in the world? No, but I wouldn't call it bad, and the reason I'd back it up is because, like, if you have a group of people and everyone's hanging out and you put on a bad song, you're gonna have some people be noisy. They're gonna say, why would you put that on? You know, when there's a song that's really hated, there's gonna be some loud individuals who do not like it. I have never put on a Nickelback song and had anybody complain. If anything, most people are like, oh yeah, that's what I want. So I really do not get where all the hate comes from. Have you ever thought about making a Timmy's train set? I just don't know if Tim Hortons really has much to do with the railroad. I'd be willing to put an HO Skill Tim Hortons on my layout, but I think that's about as far as I'd go. You still have the engine that the kid threw across the room. The Acela, yeah. Tom Brady is 5 times better than Nickelback. Does Tom Brady even make music? I feel like that's supposed to be a trick question. My dad didn't meet Tom Brady in person, but he's from Michigan, and he went up to Ann Arbor once, and he was in a sports bar with a couple of his buddies, and Tom Brady walked in, and everyone in the restaurant was going kind of crazy, and he was a couple tables down. Anyway, they didn't want to bother him or anything like that, but it was kind of cool for them. Why does the factory have a bridge to nowhere? Well, if you watched the live streams earlier in the year, I was supposed to move all this into the garage, and that was the plan up until a few months ago, but the garage kept having some flooding issues with water, so it never ended up happening. But recently, got a place of my own where I'm gonna hopefully set up the layout over the next couple months, so I never bothered to reconnect it because this is all gonna be moved, which is gonna be a really complicated process. I have no doubt about that, but I think it's gonna be awesome to have a space to new space to operate all of this. How long did it take to make the Hershey factory? I started building the table and everything for it in 2019, but I wouldn't say I really got underway until about January of 2020, and then I finished it officially in June of 2023. So it roughly took about 3 years. Of course, that's not working day in, day out on it. The only real blessing was that I started in January 2020. Everybody knows what happened a couple months later. And while I was locked in the house, I had a lot of time to work with that. And luckily, I had stockpiled a lot of materials, so I just kind of went crazy building that, because there were so many parts of building that factory which were really complicated. Not only would you have to figure out what kind of colors you had to use to make sure everything was matched, but it's like every single one of these little dividers, you had to cut all these pieces and all the pieces in between and carefully glue them at the same level. And then this right here, it's kind of hard to see, but this actually is, it has like a ribbed effect on the outside. So there's probably 150 kind of slats, but there's a space in between them. So I had to glue every single one of them. Like, I'm gonna get out a light because I don't think the camera's picking up on what's here. Got some light there. Like, do you see that effect? So I had to glue all those and then all the ones on the bottom. So all of that just took a ton of time. And I didn't enjoy every bit of the process, if I'm honest. A lot of it was kind of tedious, but it's one of those things where maybe the parts of the building are not the most fun, but you love the results. And every time I come down here, I just love looking at this thing. So definitely worth it. But I don't know if somebody offered me $1,000 to build another one if I would do it again, honestly. Like corrugated steel. So the Hershey factory does have corrugated steel, and that was really easy because they actually do sell corrugated steel. So all of this right here was corrugated steel. This was super simple, especially since there was a lot of, very basic right angles. There was no curvature or anything, so that was great. But with this, I have no idea why the designers of this factory built this, but they went with almost like a stucco, like a ribbed stucco on the outside of this part of the factory. It doesn't match any other parts of the building. I have no clue why they made that choice, but that was probably one of the most tedious bits to build. Do you have any reasons why you're not a big fan of Bachmann trains? I remember you said you're not a big fan of the company. So just for the record, I'm not a hater of Bachmann. I have some Bachmann engines, which I've had since I was a kid, and some of them belong to my dad and stuff like that, and they're very important to me. My only issue really with Bachmann is that I just feel like for the money, they're not the greatest value. So, I'm not a big fan of their larger steam engines. I just don't find they're very reliable, and I find they're slightly cheaper than the high-end ones, but from a quality and reliability standpoint, they're not that great. They don't run as well, and they don't last as long, so that's really my only issue with them. But as for Bachmann's starter sets, even though they're not the highest quality, I'll give Bachmann credit there, because they're the ones making the cheapest sets. So, yeah, there's a lot about Bachmann I don't respect, but it's not all bad, that's for sure. I would love to see some YouTube shorts of the street view one day. That's a good idea. The quality is bad by Bachmann. Yeah, I don't know, like, my Bachmann Rail Chief engine, that thing hasn't been too bad. My Bachmann Centennial has actually... Uh-oh, that's bad. Sorry about that. I'm really thankful that the engine didn't roll off the layout hitting those cars. Yeah, as I was saying, like, my Bachmann Centennial has actually been a terrific locomotive. That thing, other than having one clicking gear issue, has never given me any trouble, and it's, for the size of the engine, it's been super reliable, even on 18 radius curves. Like, there's a lot about that engine which is actually impressive. That is my favorite Bachmann engine. But having said that, like, my Bachmann GS4, that thing has had a lot of different problems, and I haven't even run it that much, so it really depends. Like, I feel like their quality control is just all over the map, and some days you get a good one, and other days, not so much. I've noticed in Bachmann's offerings, terrible gears, motors, straight from the factory. Yeah. Which Bachmann GS4 is it? It's a modern one. It's not the old 80s era ones which had the split frame. It's like, it's got DCC, so... Yeah, it's just... ironically, the 80s ones, even though they're less reliable, they have wider flanges, and they're actually a lot better for not derailing. The Bachmann pancake motors are not so great. The Bachmann Spectrum N-scale engines are pretty good. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but I find there's a lot more people who are in N-scale who are fans of Bachmann than HO. Most of the Bachmann fans I know are into N-scale, so I don't know if they put a little bit more quality assurance into their N-scale lineup. Maybe I'll just take off these British cars for now. Double head the AWVR 1206 with the fixed locomotive. They're way different mechanically. I don't want to strain the AWVR just because it has rubber traction tires. Will the new switches be connected so you don't have to run around? I don't think I'll ever electrify the switches. Maybe some of the ones that are in hard-to-reach areas, that might be nice, but I think in all likelihood I'm probably just going to leave them as is. I mean, the idea is just to transport this layout as is and then rebuild it. The only advantage is that since it's my own space, I can add on, so I don't know. I might add a staging yard or something like that. It'd be really nice to add a yard which would be long enough to store some of my passenger trains. Because, like, a lot of people will be like, oh, can you run the daylight, or can you run this? And, you know, they want to see the whole train, and it's like I only set up so many passenger trains at the same time because I only have so much room to store the full train. But if I had a yard, I could just have them all ready to go, and then when somebody wants a specific train, I could just run it out of the yard, and it would be ready to go. So setting all this up is going to be tricky, but I do think that there might be some new things on the channel, that's for sure. Is there any innovation in model railroading that could be on Shark Tank? If a manufacturer took me on and said, model railroading is not selling well with younger generations, what do we need to do to fix the business? I think what I would suggest is, first of all, instead of just having a loop, have a figure eight or something like that, something with a little bit more variety, because a loop just gets boring too quickly. I think that's problem number one. But the other thing I feel like would make model railroading a lot more interesting to the youngsters out there would be if they incorporated a tablet or something. And I know a lot of people like model railroading because it's a way to get away from technology, and I kind of appreciate it for that reason as well. But the truth is, it's so hard, I think, for model railroading to compete with video games. So I think it's one of those situations where if you can't beat them, join them, and make some kind of an app. Like put a camera inside the locomotive, which connects to the app, and then add throttle controls in the app to make it feel like you're driving a train around your layout. Like, I think something like that would be very appealing to kids. And I just don't think a standard starter set these days, which costs $200, cuts it anymore. Model railroading is still popular in Japan. I feel like it's still popular in North America as well. I do think that the demographic has changed a little bit. Like, you know, a lot of the Gen Xers, like, you know, from like my mom and dad's generation, they were into model railroading as kids. Now I find it's more people who are like retiring, which is totally good. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think a lot of the people that get into model railroading as a retirement hobby get into it because they were also into it when they were a kid. And I think if there's kids who are skipping that phase, they might not later on. The only thing is, though, is that there's always, in my opinion, going to be interest in trains. As long as trains are around, there's going to be interest in trains. And as long as there's interest in trains, there's going to be some interest in model railroading. My only concern is that it's become so unaffordable that I think it gatekeeps the hobby from a lot of people. So it's not so much an issue where there aren't people who want to get into the hobby. There are people who want to get into the hobby. They just either don't know how, or they don't have the money for it. And I mean, I was very lucky because, like, when I got into the hobby, it was back in 2006, and the hobby was, you know, there was expensive stuff back then, but it was way more affordable. It was really around, like, I don't know, I want to say like 2015, 2017, where prices started to go up, and then they didn't really slow down after that. And then the last few years, it's been way worse. So, you know, I was just fortunate that I got a lot of these buildings and a lot of this track before the prices went crazy. Like, I cannot imagine trying to get into the hobby today with all new stuff. And I mean, I know how to buy used engines for $5 a piece and fix them up, but for a beginner, that's just not a very realistic thing, you know, to know where to go, like how to find a train show and what to look for and what not to buy and so on and so forth. And I'm trying to share as much of that as I can in these videos, but, you know, fundamentally, it just takes time. How do the trains go opposite direction even though these switches are connected? So the switches on my layout have these joiners right here. I have to wait for this to pass by. But these joiners are made out of plastic, so power can flow up to here and it can flow up to here, but these can both operate separate from each other. So if I set the switch to run both sets of tracks off the same power source, I can run a train from track to track. But I do have to be careful not to run a train from track to track when I have controllers operating in opposite directions. I wish Rapido was listening to you right now. I mean, yeah, Rapido's part of it, but I wouldn't want to single Rapido out as being the only one who has high prices on their models. I think every manufacturer has raised their prices. Some have been worse than others, but I don't know. I think there has to be some kind of a solution. 85% of us have 75 XP. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's easy to say, oh yeah, you can model railroad cheap, but again, that's with years of experience. And I'm planning on making a video about how to build a layout for under $100, but again, you got to know where the train shows are at. Like most of the train shows I go to, some of them are advertised, but like the OVR flea market that comes around, like it's a large group of train guys. So there's no flyers that go out or anything. It's just kind of like a guy knows another guy, you know, and everybody tells each other. And so like I know where to go to these places to find good deals, but I didn't even know about the OVR flea market for like the first 15 years of being in model railroading. I didn't even know there was a model railroad community in Ottawa. So you have to kind of get on the inside in order to find the deals. So it's a catch-22 for beginners. I believe Athearn Genesis is the price leader, hands down, the most expensive locomotives, least value you get in 2025. I'm talking the new stuff. I haven't checked their 2025 lineup, but I like Athearn. I feel like they make good products still. Especially since even their new stuff still has some blue box roots in it. But I will say that I don't think that they're a very big innovator anymore. Like I think, you know, in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even into the 90s and 2000s, like Athearn just ruled the day making high quality engines. And now they're still making high quality engines, but in terms of detail, they just add a few new things every year and call it a day. Like they're not making anything that I think is going to wow the public, that's for sure. I think another big problem, too, is that the manufacturers keep trying to kind of steal business away from each other. Like, they keep making very slightly different... They keep making different versions of the same product, like... You know, one manufacturer will release an SD40-2, and then another will, and then another will, and now you have 3 manufacturers making the same product, whereas if they all focused on their own type of engine and their own road names, I think that there would probably be more money to go around, because the money wouldn't be split up amongst them, so, you know. It'd be interesting if some manufacturers could kind of team up together and actually kind of decide who's going to make what. You're forgetting Broadway Limited. Yeah, they are around. I don't personally own a crazy amount of Broadway Limited stuff, but they seem decent. The only way to really get into the hobby is use sale tables. Once that goes, no one is going to be buying new stuff. No one young, that is, yeah. Scale trains is for people with too much money or because the fire isn't burning the money fast enough. Yeah, I mean, I own a couple of scale trains engines, and I get why people like them. Like, the detail's incredible, and they run nicely, but yeah, I cannot imagine... Like, I own, I think, 3 scale trains engines. I cannot imagine building up a fleet of, like, 20 scale trains locomotives. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think a scale trains engine in American dollars is about $400. Is that right? Let's say it's 400. You get a fleet of 20. That's a pretty good roster. Yeah, you're in it for $8,000. You could buy a pretty nice used car for that money. The Susie channel, I cannot believe the Susie channel is back around. That's so cool. It's been forever. Glad to be here. Glad to have you back. What's the most important part of the train? Oh, the locomotive, no doubt. I mean, there are a lot of people in the hobby that will say, oh, don't buy too many locomotives. What you want to invest in is rolling stock. You want to have a lot for your few engines to pull, and maybe for some people out there, that's fine. But I like having a variety of engines. To me, you can keep pulling the same rolling stock with different engines, and that's more exciting. Is it realistic? No. But I think in this collection, I probably have more locomotives than I do rolling stock. Good to see you're not running it ludicrous, Steve. Yeah, exactly. We have to have some realistic operations on the layout once in a while. Wow, we've got Darth Santa Fe in here. Get a garden scale train. Once you start, it grows on you. Well, I will say to anybody who's into gardening, if you like trains and gardening, I don't think there's any better than G-Scale. That is one thing I do like about G-Scale, is that it actually combines the outdoors and model railroading. Having a hobby indoors is kind of a mixed bag, because there are days down here where I really want to work on the layout, or I am working on the layout, and it's nice outside and I feel kind of guilty. But then at the same time too, there's nothing better in Canada, at least, you know, when it's like miserable and cold outside, than coming down to a warm basement and just working on stuff. Or when it's in the summertime and it's just pouring rain out there and you can just kind of settle down. You don't have to rely on that. So I don't know, I guess there was a bit of a trade-off. I love the pumpkin patch. Well, this was a family project. My dad, I think when I was about 8 years old, spotted that and bought it as a gift for the family, not just for me specifically. He bought it as a gift for the family, and yeah, one October night, we were all in the living room and we glued all that together. It was a really fun project. There were a few family projects on the layout. There was the pumpkin patch. The trees on the layout were all put together by the family on Christmas Day. Trying to think if there's any others. Those are all the family projects I can think of, but the barn was also a family, a gift to the family, not specifically for the layout. Everybody in my family, we were at the train store, they saw this thing, and we're like, let's get it, it's perfect. I love that. That's what a hobby is about, building memories and having fun together. Yeah. It's one thing I really will say about model railroading that's great too, is that there's some people in the hobby who are not even necessarily really into the trains. Like, the trains are an important part, but like when I was younger, my sister would come down here and, you know, she didn't really care about the trains, but she liked, you know, placing the animals and making different scenes and stuff like that. So it's definitely a hobby that has something for everyone. Can you please run the Southern Green locomotive on the table nearby? The one I fixed in the last video? Yeah, we can try. I don't know how well it's gonna run, but let's give it a chance. When is a new layout episode coming? In terms of building a new layout, I don't know. I think there is going to be some content tearing this layout apart and moving it to the house. And hopefully that's going to be within the next couple months. I really want to get a move on that. But a lot has to happen with the house first, so we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very tempted to start the beginner layout series. I just don't know how I want to... I don't know what angle I want to start that video as, because part of me wants it to be maybe a comparison between Kato and Bachmann, and then another part of me is like you could do a high-end version and a low-end version, or a simple version of the Bachmann layout and a better version of the Kato layout and stuff. There's so many different possibilities, and I keep getting scrambled, and I can't decide how I want to start that. Even after years in the hobby, I'm getting into the same negative feedback loop that a lot of people who are getting into the hobby get into, which is that you get so overwhelmed you don't know where to start. Well, it did start. Let's see if the old lass will, yeah. I don't really care about the trains. I do run what I collect, but for me, it's more of the building I like. Yeah, and that's not even the first time I've heard that. There are some people who just have a circle of track and then they really go to town building the village and scenery and stuff like that. I mean, that was sort of the case with my grandmother. Like, a lot of people don't know the whole story because, like, there have been some people who pointed out, like, it's pretty strange for, you know, like back then for a girl to be into like model trains, because this was like back in the 50s, you know, people thought a little differently there, and right, and it wasn't necessarily about the trains for her. It was just about like the whole setup, because what had happened was my great granddad had actually bought the train set for she and my well, I guess it would be my great uncle there, and he didn't actually take to the trains. She was the one who was really into them, but it wasn't because of the trains. It was just because of the whole setup. So the trains, the locomotives still hold a lot of nostalgia, but it's more of what they were part of, if that makes sense. I'm happy to have caught on your live Gotta Run. Congratulations on the channel success. I'll be stopping by again soon. Well, thank you so much for stopping, Susie. I just collect them, but I do have a spot for red libraries such as the MK3 coaches and the red and black Virginians. I sold the library, plus I'm a class 57/3 using a Hornby. Class 47 I repainted myself. Darth Santa Fe, I'm kind of like that with Minecraft. I've spent a lot more time in creative mode just for building things than actually playing regular mode. Funny you say that, I'm exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. I don't play Minecraft a whole lot, but back in the day, that was exactly how I used to play. I also did build a large railway system. Well, I think the second anyone starts playing Minecraft, who's into trains, they do that. It was pretty funny. My friend had a cousin. He was a guy in his 50s, but he was big into Minecraft, and so he had a server which he created for his daughter, but his daughter never played it. I think it was more of just a excuse to set up a Minecraft server. But anyway, this one day on the server, I started building like a train setup, and I didn't know this, but he was actually a train buff as well. And so I rejoined the server after a week of starting this. And he had built this massive network, and he had built an entire map of the whole track, and yeah, it was hilarious. Just couldn't believe how much he had put together. I'm very tempted to start a community project on W Place. I don't know if everybody in here has heard of that by now, but there's this map of the world, and people can draw on it with pixels, so you can plant pixels, and so you can make all kinds of artwork. And so a lot of people in their own hometown are building artwork of things that, you know, resemble the town, but all in pixels and stuff like that. But I feel like I want to find an area of land somewhere in the world, and put the coordinates out, and see if everyone wants to build some sort of like a train museum. Everyone could build pixel arts of different locomotives. I've been messing around with it a little bit behind the scenes, making an LRC, but I don't know. We'll see. W Place, I don't get it. Yeah, so this for anybody who doesn't know, this is W Place. So from a distance, it just looks like regular Google Maps, all the same stuff. But then when you start to zoom in on a random location, you can see people have drawn all kinds of artwork. So this right here is Smith Falls, which is the land that the Hershey factory is from. And you can see there's actually already some people doing some rail artwork right here. Somebody's putting together like a steam locomotive, but there's all sorts of other pop culture references. People can kind of just put whatever they want. So it's pretty random, but yeah, you can see there's all kinds of different artwork. So what I would like to do is to actually put together like a plot of land, put out the coordinates, and then see if everyone wants to build something. But it's cool because you click on this, and then you have a number of pixels. So yeah, lately I've been working on this, which is an LRC locomotive, and I'm actually building this right beside this location right here, which is actually where the near miss video, which is that video of a guy whose via train almost hits the back of a Canadian Pacific, and he like bails from the cab, which happened right here. So that's been my piece of artwork. But I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting thing I thought maybe could get the community involved with. But yeah, it's becoming a big trend. And I've been surprised how much train related content is in here. There's definitely a lot of there's a lot of random pop culture references, but for just a random community on the internet, I'm amazed by how much rail stuff is on there. So there's something to keep in mind. the Ottawa incident. It was it wasn't in Ottawa, it was in Smith Falls. It was about an hour away from Ottawa, but yeah, it was the 1991, I want to say it was February 6th, but that might be wrong. But basically what had happened was a Canadian Pacific train had overextended its yard limit, and then there was a VIA train coming from Ottawa bound towards Brockville, and it almost hit the back of the train. The guy threw it into an emergency stop, and it stopped probably a couple 100 feet from the back of the Canadian Pacific. Yeah, I'll see if I can find the... I won't show the video because I'm not trying to mess with anyone's copyright, but I'll at least share the name if anyone wants to go check it out. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen it. It's called Bruce Chapman 1993 Smith Falls near miss. Now, 1993 is not when it happened. I don't know why the guy who uploaded that said it was 1993. It was 1991. But yeah, famous kind of rail fail video. There's Santa Fe. It's just one of those things you do for a little fun. There's no real reward besides maybe seeing something put together by a community. Yeah, that's just it. It's a good thing they stopped in time, because it could have been the next Hinton crash. I don't think it would have been, because if the train was approaching the Smith Falls yard, it would have naturally been slowing down. So I don't think it would have been going fast enough for a real big disaster. And the Canadian Pacific train was actually going forward slowly at that point. The only thing that was really lucky, though, that prevented it from being a crash was that since it was in the middle of winter, there were no leaves on the trees, which meant the VIA crew was able to see the Canadian Pacific train way further back than they would have been in the summertime. Because I guess what had happened was they were building new signals at the time, so that's why the signals didn't notify the VIA train that the Canadian Pacific train was in the same block. So yeah, that was the only saving grace. I've been doing a lot of research on that whole thing, though, because I'm actually thinking about doing a video kind of describing the whole lead up to that event and some sort of a history video. And what I already found out is that the same engine which almost hit the back of that Canadian Pacific train, I think about 3 years earlier, had been damaged after crashing into the back of another train. So that engine already had a history of doing that, so it was lucky that it didn't happen twice. I remember that location before. I like steak as rare as it can be without mooing. And I too like Nickelback. No Hawaiian pizza for me, please. Fair enough. W Place, if that's your thing, go for it. What I just find interesting about it is that if you go to like your hometown, you can find artwork of things people have already kind of recreated. So like I went around Kennebunkport, Maine, which is roughly where you know, around where I am in like Arundel whenever I go vacationing, and there's like some trolleys around the Seashore Trolley Museum. Or I went to Cincinnati and there was some stuff about the Forest Fair Mall. That was pretty cool. What time is it? 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I just watched that video. Oh, that's funny. Eight here in Utah, huh? He might turn into the next Thunderbolt 1000 Siren Productions if he does. I don't think so. I don't think I'd ever want to do any videos about like a tragic event. The only reason I want to do this one is just because, first of all, it happened only an hour away from where I live, so I could actually drive up there and kind of document what the whole area looks like today in the same time of the year too. Like I could drive up there in February and film all that. And it's a non-tragic accident, so I don't know. It's just, there's no like making any entertainment out of like a bad event. So I feel like it's fair game. And since it's a local event too, there's some historians who I personally know, some rail historians, so they could definitely be really good sources for getting more information on these events. I wish my granddad on my dad's side was still around, because I don't know if he was still working at Transport Canada when that event happened. He might have been on the airline side by that point, because he used to be on the safety board for the railways. So earlier when I was talking about the Hinton collision, he was involved with investigating that. It's possible he might have been there in the 90s as well, but this other guy who actually worked with him, he's a historian, and I'm sure he'd know a lot about it. Have you done the giveaway yet? No, I haven't done the draw yet. It'll probably be in the next couple months. What did you do with the 2884 Yellowstone Varney locomotive from a few years ago? Did you eventually find a trailing truck and drawbar for it, or did you do anything after making the video? I have done some work on the drivetrain. I put a new motor in it, and I did some stuff to try to make it run a little bit quieter, but I still have not found a good trailing truck for it. What's your favorite food in Canada, other than pineapple pizza? Maybe like a fried chicken poutine, that's pretty good. Does the Southern Pacific diesel you got from the UK lot run well now that you fixed it? I don't see why it wouldn't. Let me go set it up over there. I did glue this back on today, and I got one of the side frames back on. I couldn't find the other side frame. I don't know if that's still in the box or if it's missing, but in terms of running, it seems pretty solid. It's a joke. Why? Because the Athearns are so reliable, you don't even have to worry if they still work. That thing is really weathered. Yeah, somebody just went to town with the paint. Nothing beats the Nacho Bel Grande. I don't know if they sell it anymore from Taco Bell. Taco Bell doesn't even exist in Quebec anymore. Maybe they do in Ontario, but I only remember going to Taco Bell, like, I don't know, like once or twice in my life, honestly. Taco Bell still in Toronto. I wish we had La Belle Province in Ontario. So much good food in Quebec. Yeah, that's one thing Quebec has going for it is the cooking. Especially around Montreal, there's a lot of good restaurants. Around Gatineau, there are some good places, but Montreal definitely has the upper hand there. I've heard Quebec City has amazing restaurants as well. I haven't been to Quebec City. I've never been to Quebec City. I've been to Montreal a couple times though. Thank you so much for the super chat, James Strickland. That Bachman is keeping up. Yeah, I don't know why the trolley had so many derailing issues in the beginning. It's been doing a fine job ever since. Mr. Sub. I don't know if we have Mr. Sub. I feel like I've seen those in the States, but Mr. Sub, I don't know. We used to have Quiznos. I haven't seen a Quiznos in a long time. I think Mr. Sub maybe is more of a Toronto area thing. I don't know. I can't think of any nearby. Mr. Sub is Canadian. Whoops. Mr. Sub is the worst. We have them in Ontario. Well, I can't speak on it. I didn't even know it was a Canadian brand. Quiznos was basically dead after the terrible ad campaign from 10 years ago. I only remember going to Quiznos like once in my life. It wasn't a bad experience, but it just kind of felt like an off-brand Subway. Like, just like a Subway, but like less stuff. Mr. Sub is a bad Subway. Firehouse Subs is the best way to go. I don't think I've ever heard of that one. I would love to see Via Rail heritage units, but Via Rail is busy cutting services, raising prices. They're not interested in expanding. They're interested in pulling trains around with 10 customers. Yeah, it would be amazing if Via Rail could do a kind of like the LRC paint scheme. I don't know what it was called, but whatever paint scheme they were putting on the LRC engines on their new Chargers. I feel like that would look pretty cool. I finally tried the local Firehouse Subs. It was good, but I'm sticking with Jersey Mike's. Firehouse Subs just requested for me to do an interview. Well, next time I'm in the States, I'm gonna have to look for one of these. How often do you go to the States? Pretty often, I'd say. Probably about once every quarter minimum, if not more. Like, I think there's some years where I've probably been to the States 7 or 8 times in a year. I'm only an hour away, so, you know, go to the Messina train show, and then my parents have a place up in Maine, so we go there a couple times a year, and then some of my family used to have a place in Florida, although they sold that a few years ago, so I haven't been up there as much, but still have some friends in Florida, and I've also got some family living in California, so been up there a couple times. What is the difference between a US state and a Canadian province? Like, if you have knowledge on it, that is. I don't feel like the difference between a state and a province is really that big. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just using different words to describe what's essentially the same thing. Just like how in the States there's, you know, you guys have a president, we have a prime minister. It's just using different words for what are essentially the same roles. And I would say too that like a lot of the Canadian provinces kind of mimic geographically. Like if you think of the States like this, and then Canada is here, and you got Mexico down here, I find that the provinces match a lot of the states right across the border. So like Vancouver is, or British Columbia, I should say, Vancouver, you know, is kind of like LA. And British Columbia is very much like California. Alberta is very similar, I think, to Texas. Manitoba and that kind of side of the country, I would say, is pretty much your kind of Ohio sort of Canada. And then Quebec is sort of like your Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire kind of side. Lot of similarities, I would say. Do you have Waffle House? I don't think we have Waffle House in Canada. I've seen a lot of them when I've been in Florida, but I don't believe they exist here as a brand. And Ontario is like New York. Yeah, I would say so. States function sort of like an independent country under a larger government, while provinces are simply territories of the main country. I don't know, because provinces do have their own provincial governments, and they do operate differently. So it is sort of similar how in the States you've got the federal government. In Canada, it's the same thing. And then you've got provincial governments, and then the States, you've got state governments and stuff. And then, of course, you've got, and I think this is identical between Canada and the U.S., you've got your, I don't know if they call them municipalities, but basically, you know, like your townships. Do you know, did you announce the winners for the N-scale train? I haven't announced any winners for that yet. I plan to within the next month. It's just, I used to announce the winners for, like, my draws, like, a week after I'd, like, announce them, and then I'd have a bunch of subscribers saying, oh, I watch all your videos, but sometimes it takes me more time because I'm working and stuff. So now I just let them run for a while, let everybody have a good chance to get in, and then I do a draw just so that everyone has a good opportunity. Like different names for the same... Yeah, that's the way I would describe it. Here's a question. What's your least favorite railroad line? Like the one that you genuinely have no strong feelings for or actively dislike? This is a boring answer, but I don't think I have one that comes to mind. Anything new from the 3D printer? I haven't used that in a while. I'm gonna have to get some new print spools so I can start making things with that. I just found a lot of the parts I was making didn't hold up super well. Some of them are okay. For least favorite railroad, just say SPSF and move on. Well, SPSF is kind of a weird case, but I don't know if I would say I dislike it. It's just sort of unusual. And I mean, the same could be said for like the Penn Central. Like I know a lot of people point out like the Penn Central as being a poorly operated railroad, but do I personally feel like a vendetta towards them or anything? Not really. I don't really care. It's just kind of odd history. Did you know about the steam locomotive that traveled from Canada to Mexico? It was in a recent documentary. It's funny you say that. I was talking about that earlier. I'll have to go check that out. Trident Sports Canada, any tips on a 4x4 layout? Not specifically. At N scale, that would probably be enough to build something, but I don't know what would be a good fit for that kind of space. Time for a different engine, maybe some Amtrak. Yeah, I can throw some Amtrak on there. Are you gonna work on your dad's steam locomotive on the layout? That's the plan. I wanna install a new motor in that thing, get it running a little bit better. I know Canadian National said they will never take the train to Mexico again, practically getting mobbed by rail fans. There was a lady who got removed. Trying to take a... Yeah, that was really unfortunate. I think it was Canadian Pacific, but I get what you're saying, yeah. Remember, what are the videos going to come out, like, about the double-decker trolley? I don't know specifically. I definitely want to get working on those, but just got to decide what kinds of content, like which format I should, you know, put them in, because I think some of them, I suspect, are going to be fairly straightforward, so those are probably going to be shorts, and then some of the kind of medium-level ones probably be done in live streams, and then I think the more complicated ones will probably be added to videos. You send out the 1950s Bowser trolley. Yeah, I can try if it'll start. Don't know what the deal with that is. Have you ever thought about trying to build another locomotive like the kit you built a while back? I think I will. I don't know if the roundhouse kit you're talking about is the one that I put together in like 2020 or the one I bought recently, but if you haven't seen the video, I did buy another roundhouse kit, and I do want to try building one of those. I hope it'll go a little bit better. The last one I would not call bad, but I definitely didn't know as much about putting kits together, so I think this time I'll probably be a little bit more meticulous about sanding and cutting flashing and things like that, just to try to make sure everything's a little more even. See what's going on with this guy. Oh, I don't know what that was. This will start now. It's shorted. It's weird, it wasn't shorted before. I wonder if I rotate that around if it will fix it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. To the workbench, try to test the motor. Yeah. Just get the camera and, well, not the camera, but my computer out of the way here. I think the trains are running reliably enough just to leave them on autopilot over there. Now, I feel like something quite bad might have happened to this. I'm not sure how well on camera this is showing up, but the brushes are really at quite an angle, and I don't remember them being like that. So my guess would be that the spring, since it's always pulling this way, has been applying a little bit more force to the top side of this rather than the bottom, and it's actually caused the brush to wear in a really weird way. Because this is not seized, and it feels like these are making contact, so I really don't see why that should be causing any problems. But I will get the controller out and see if we can get the motor just to start by itself. So now it is starting, but it's really weak. Really weak. Maybe the commutator just needs to be cleaned. That side's not that bad. So that removes a lot of the carbon now. Maybe it just needs a little bit of fresh oil. Just throw some in the gearbox here. Seems to be running a little bit better. Let's see how it does actually trying to push. Oh, that's not bad there. That right there is really weird. Like, what I don't understand is it's got enough power to, like, do a, like, basically a burnout on the bench. Like, that takes some torque. And we know it's not shorted because you can hear that the, like, the Burlington Northern locomotive is not lugging down when I put this on the track. And we know it's getting power because you can see that the armature is turning just really slowly. So it just doesn't make very much sense. Are you gonna open up the cell? Yeah, I still have to unbox that thing. I guess I could try, looks like a powered skateboard. It kind of does. Let's try it again on the bench here. Let's double check. Even if I apply weight, it's got plenty of torque. Now, is it possible that this is just such a crappy connection that maybe doesn't want to power up with that? No. Let's try the wheels maybe. Oh, that could be the isolated side. Maybe not, I don't know. Let's try connecting it to the wheel here. We'll see if anything happens. That seems fine too. So, then we put it back on the track and it's doing the same thing. Could be tarnish on the wheel treads. Yeah, maybe you're right about that. It's just weird though, like I find usually when these things are not, like when there's an electrical issue, they don't pick up power whatsoever, whereas this thing is, it's just not running very quick. And this is the side that it picks up power on, and you can tell that because you can see that these, like it's metal all the way around, whereas on this side it's isolated. So I'm just gonna try cleaning the wheels on this one side. See if that makes any difference. You know what? I think Darth Santa Fe is right. It's not the front wheels, it's the back wheels. This right here is the conductive side, and those kind of look like they have some burn spots on them, so I'll clean all of them up just to be sure, but maybe because every time I've tested this, I've been connecting power to this set and then directly to the frame, which means it's bypassing all of this stuff. Where can I find one of those fiberglass pens you use for cleaning? They sell them on Amazon, eBay. Just look for a fiberglass pencil, and you'll find a million of them. They're all pretty much the same. They probably all roll out of the same factory. And I find you can usually get them for about $8. Some of them go for a little more, but great. Definitely a tool worth having. This thing probably has enough torque that I could just use it to clean its own wheels here. Let's see, I'll connect that there. Run another line of ground. Crank up the power all the way. At some point soon, I'm definitely going to have to do a full cleaning on the gearbox, because you can see that there's some grimy oil coming out of this thing. That's looking a lot better. Is that custom weathering or actual rust on that? This thing? That's some weathering. Sounds like it's revving really well now. Let's see if that fixed it. And now it doesn't even want to start at all. I think it is drawing a little bit of power, because I don't know, it did sound like that lugged down slightly, but yeah, that is very odd. I was trying to hear if I can actually hear like the pitch in the motor change when I add this on or not. It's doing it again. Like it's, oh, maybe this time it's gonna pull through. The only other thing I can figure is that the axles have just become so dirty from hours of running this that maybe that's what's holding it back. Definitely some dirt buildup. That could be a problem. Needs more weight? I don't think so. I think we've just got some electrical issues, and now that I'm looking at this, it's actually kind of nasty, so I think we've probably found our problem. I'm currently rebuilding an AHM RS11, the Athearn trucks and can motor. I'm watching your live stream. Oh, that's cool. I'm just wondering if I should put a little bit of brake clean in some of these parts, see if that gets some of the junk out of it. If you've never worked with brake clean before, it can help in certain situations where you're working with metal parts, but always be careful because this stuff will, first of all, it's very flammable. It will strip paints away, and it's also not really good stuff to be breathing, so just keep that in mind. You can see it will cut through really nasty greases and things like that. So I think that is probably going to fix our problem here. Just put a little bit of fresh oil in there. Make sure I'm not putting sparks around where I'm spraying flammable fluids. I need some brake clean too. Bad minds for my carburetor. Yeah, I mean, this is what I usually use to clean jets on the carbs. Side is looking kind of greasy too. I bet a little bit of cleaning in here would probably do it some well. I'm getting too tired. I don't know why this is on so tight. Oh man. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Might be our problem. Just gonna do a very basic cleaning on this for now because I really don't want to dig too deep into it tonight. I just want to get this thing moving again, but it's crazy just how much stuff. Like I rebuilt this engine a couple of years ago, and it's just crazy how much stuff, even on my own layout, just from hours of running it, it's managed to pick up in that time frame. I see a little bit of stuff in the teeth and places like that. I'll give it a little bit of a couple shots of the good stuff. Is eBay the best place to sell trains? If you want to get rid of them fast, probably not, but if you're looking to make the most money, I would say so, just because the market is quite big. People will pay a lot more for even a cheap engine on eBay than they would at a train show. Like a $5 engine at a train show would probably go for $25 on eBay, I would say. Let's let this do a few more rotations. I will have to end the live stream off because we are getting pretty close to 11 here. But I would like to just get the servicing done on this locomotive before we do. Crazy, more dust and stuff. I just find it wild how much has gotten in here, because I rebuilt this engine in August of 2023, so it's been 2 years, just over 2 years. Give it one more shot of brake clean just to help get some of the crud out of it. I think that's about as much as I want to spray in there. I sold a brass model for over 300 recently, and the payout after eBay fees was about 250. So that sounds pretty good, but my question is, what was the engine worth, let's say, when you got it? I mean, I would reckon, you know, if somebody just wanted to go to a train show, scoop up a bunch of deals and throw them on eBay, you probably could make a pretty good profit for yourself. I'm just gonna give this a chance to air out, because I don't really think it's a great idea to be running something which makes sparks in an area which could still have brake clean, which again, I bought it for $250, fixed it, tried to get $350 almost a year ago, but nobody's buying. Okay, that's good to know. See if it still smells like brake clean. It does a little bit, so I'm just gonna give that a chance to air out, and we'll see. All right, I feel like enough time has gone by. Just clear some stuff away in case we do have a quick thump. Uh-oh. Let's put this over the edge and we'll just let it rev a little. And do both directions. Okay, I'm discovering something interesting, which is this engine does not seem to want to run in both directions, so maybe that's why it runs fine on the workbench, but it wasn't earlier. You can see this thing, even after that cleaning with the brake clean, there was still some crud in the drive, so I'm probably going to have to flush it out again. But I do really quickly just want to see if running it on the other track, if maybe that's been our problem all along. I would not be surprised if the commutator is maybe preventing this thing from turning both ways. I know a guy that eBaying was his only income. He worked 8 hours a day going to flea markets, thrift stores, along with garage sales. He made a fair amount of income. I guess if you're really willing, I think you would have to have a knowledge on a lot of different things though. Because I mean, like, you know, from model trains, personally, I would know kind of like what to pay for a lot of them, but I feel like if you were doing that full time, you'd have to know how to price out all sorts of other things if you really wanted to make a living off of it. Okay, so let's see, will it go in this direction? I kind of feel like maybe this thing has more electrical issues. Ay, ay, ay. Have you ever installed a Digitrax decoder before? I have a couple times, yeah. Just gonna let it rev for a second here. Nope. I feel like installing some capacitors in this would probably go a long way. Like if it just had a bit of a keep alive system. Even though this engine has 8 wheels, it only has 4-wheel pickup because there's only 2 on each truck actually picking up power. So I feel like that could go a long way, but it has run without them before, so it's not really a reasonable excuse in my opinion. Getting better though. It's okay. I guess I'm not really being entirely fair too, because this is just running as a chassis, whereas with the die-cast shell, a little bit of extra weight probably help it a little bit. Yeah, I think fundamentally I need to flush out that drive at least once more, maybe twice. Just keep getting all the junk out of it, and then starting over, because yeah, there's all sorts of schmoo. There's the bolt. I think there was another part, which may or may not be important. I should make a book. It could be called The Joys of Working with Brass. And it would list all the different things that can go wrong when working with brass. Ah. Oh, I think I got it this time. Yeah. Go on maps. My book would be called Working with Brass, What a Pain in the Ass. Oh, that's funny. I think I'm gonna need to buy that book. Why touch grass when you can be running brass? Yeah. Well, anyway, it's almost 11 o'clock, so I think I'll finish off the live stream as to not keep everybody upstairs awake. But I think overall we can call this one a success. We got the trolley kind of running, and this thing is just running great. I mean, that's really what I just love about the blue boxes. Like, I took this thing out of storage, and you know what? Like, it really just didn't give any trouble. Just had to do a couple basic repairs on it, and just like that, here it is out on the layout for the first time in possibly many years, and it's running really well, so really cannot complain about that. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining in and chatting. I had a lot of fun reading out all your comments as usual, and everyone's different opinions on things, so I do appreciate it. And with that, I think I'll call it a night. I'll read this last one. Athearn Blue Box locomotives are models that won't die. Yeah, they just refuse. Just refuse. Just feed them oil, clean the commutator, and run them. We'll do it forever. Anyway.